breaking news.
At breaking news at the Nebraska Capitol, today is the deadline for organizers to submit petition signatures to get issues in front of voters on the November ballot.
Organizers say a pair of measures allowing medical marijuana to appear have enough signatures. They're turning in their petitions at this hour at the Nebraska Secretary of State's office.
Also appearing to have enough signatures, a constitutional amendment to protect the right to an abortion and one for a 12-week abortion amendment. The paid sick leave initiative also turned in their signatures last week after collecting more than 138,000.
Now, some petitions have failed. Among them, the Choose Life Now initiative, proposing a constitutional amendment to, quote, recognize the personhood of preborn children. Also failing, a constitutional amendment to allow recreational marijuana use.
There was also an effort to only allow the state to collect sales taxes. It failed. We have more on the marijuana and abortion efforts in our next newscast live at 5.
Well, more breaking news.